Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to just a quick segment about leadership and development and your own progress and all that kind of stuff. So, just recently, I have been working with some clients of mine in coaching, and one of them made this striking comment to me that I think is relevant to you. It's one of the things that I constantly hear business owners and entrepreneurs talking about. It's how to gain back more of my time. And so this one entrepreneur specifically identified the fact that he gained 30%. Now, I don't know that he actually did the calculation on that, but 30% more time back over the course of the last 6 weeks. And I wanted to outline some different ways that we've been working together to figure that out. So the question would be is what would change in your business and in your life if you suddenly had 30% more of your time? Think about that. Not necessarily 30% more productivity, not 30% more work crammed into the same calendar, but 30% more freedom back. It could mean an extra hour or two every day. It could mean getting home earlier. It could mean getting to the office later, whichever the case may be for you, whichever the is most advantageous. It could mean having time to pursue new business or develop your team or improve systems. Finally, thinking about where your company is going instead of constantly reacting to where it's been. One of the things that I find pretty consistent is the 30%. Whenever we do gain time back, we immediately invest that time right back into the business. And so there doesn't actually ever feel like any freedom is felt. It actually is automatically absorbed right back into the business. And I want to just caution you with this. If this starts beginning to work for you, don't reinvest that time immediately. If you're able to free up some things based on what I'm going to teach you today, save that. Okay. Like enjoy it for a minute before and then analyze, like figure out, okay, where do I need to absorb this or invest this, or where do I need to extend this so that we can go forward faster together? This is almost like an element of a budget. When you put yourself together in a budget, you begin to analyze, okay, where is my dollars going? Where is my money flowing? And you can begin to understand, okay, maybe I have more money than I need and I'm just not deploying it correctly, or maybe I have less than I need and I'm strangling, right? That's the same thing that we need to do with our time. Our time is one of the most, probably the most valuable resource that we have, and we have no idea where it goes. So let's figure it out, okay? Recently, I was reviewing the first 6 weeks of progress with one of my entrepreneurial clients, and I asked him uh, a simple question: what's changed? What's changed in your progress and your flow and all that? And he began talking about better communication, fewer mistakes, stronger delegation, and smoother operations. And I asked him how much additional freedom he believed that those changes had created. And his answer was this: I can estimate about 30%. Now, 30% more freedom with his time in just 6 weeks. That's pretty astounding. Here's what makes those results interesting. He'd not spent 6 weeks studying time management. I didn't give him a new calendar. I didn't give him anything, actually. I didn't recommend a new productivity app. I didn't teach him to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and squeeze in more activity into every available minute. No, no, no. We worked on leadership. And you've heard me say this before, I think. If you're not, write it down. I'm here to, you're hearing it now. When leadership improves, everything else improves along with it. The way that you handle yourself, the way that you treat other people, the way that you are a parent, the way that you're a spouse, the way that you volunteer, everything changes when you grow in your leadership. So the question becomes, how are you growing in your leadership? Are you growing it at all? And then there's that sticky point that's inside of you that says, I don't have time for that. Well, I want to encourage you with the fact that maybe you do have time for it. You just haven't focused on or figured out, how do I deal with the fires that are burning in front of me right now so that I can get the space to actually grow. As this guy's leadership improved, his time began returning to him as well. It's something that he didn't quite expect. That revealed something that every entrepreneur needs to understand. Your calendar is not actually the problem. You may believe that you're overwhelmed because you have too much work to do, but Much of that work may exist because of how the business is currently being led. Every unclear instruction creates a new question. Every delayed decision creates a new interruption, right? Every undocumented process creates another task that depends on you. Every or preventable mistake creates rework. Every responsibility refused to release keeps you trapped inside the work someone else could eventually perform. These are not merely time management problems, these are leadership leaks, and there is a way to fix it. Your time is leaking because of business through that's directed through procrastination, mistakes, poor communication, inefficient systems, and unnecessary dependence on you. Now, recently, I have a rental property, and recently my tenant contacted me and said, "Hey, the ceiling is raining." This is a problem. I can think you can understand how raining ceiling in the kitchen is not a good thing. And so I had to get someone over there to be able to analyze what the problem was. And I had the suspicion, obviously, it's a leaky pipe somewhere, whether it's a supply line or a drain line, regardless, it's an issue. And so I had a guy go over there and uncover the problem. It was a leaky drain line. Holes in it, it was his old galvanized pipes. And so how did we resolve the problem? He told me, he said, "Hey, there's this product that we can use. We don't actually have to replace the pipe. We just have to put, there's a product that you can use that's actually designed for this. You just mold this product around the hole and it will solidify. It's like cementing a hole in a steel drain line." And he's like, "We're going to try this instead of trying to cut this out and do this botched repair job and in a really tight confined space. This will solve the problem." And I was astounded. I'd never heard of this before. I'm not a plumber. I don't do this kind of stuff. But he fixed it. He showed me the work, and I'm astounded. I'm like, good Lord, a simple stop leak in a drain line that I didn't know you could do results in a patched system. And the same thing is true for leadership. When your leadership is leaking out, we've got to be able to put a stop leak on that thing so that your business can actually move forward with health and vitality, and stop and solve those leaks by clarity and by health, rather than just forcing yourself to work more, to work faster, and to work harder. You can solve these problems by becoming a more intentional leader. And let me show you 5 places where entrepreneurs are consistently losing time. The first one is in unclear communication. Communication is everything to you in business. In fact, I've said it like this before. Communication is like blood, right? You need blood to run through your body to be able to keep vitality and movement and life, right? And if communication is like blood, if communication stops flowing, death is imminent, just like blood, okay? So, one of the fastest ways to lose time is to assume that people understand what you expect. You might think you've communicated it clearly, but have you? And would they say the same thing? You give quick instruction, they hear something just slightly different, and they complete whatever that thing is incorrectly. And now you've got a mistake on your hands that you're going to have to go back and correct, which leads to what? It leads to frustration. It leads to mismanagement. It leads to decreased productivity. It's money loss, right? Now you have to deal with answering more questions, correcting the work, repairing the relationship. And sometimes you have to step in and do it yourself, which is not exactly what you want. The problem is not necessarily the employee. The problem is that maybe the communication wasn't exactly what it needed to be. Strong leaders define the outcome. They explain what success looks like. They establish the deadline. They clarify who owns the responsibility. I love that word clarify. It coincides with my clarity minute that you're investigating right now. A 5-minute conversation on the front end can eliminate hours of correction on the back end. And that's where you do 2 things. You save your time, you save your money, and essentially, number 3, you can save a relationship based on the clarity of your communication. Spend an extra 5 minutes on whatever that thing is. Don't rush through it. Don't assume that people understand your desired outcome. Save your time right there. Spend the extra 5 minutes, clarify exactly what this thing is, and you will eliminate some headaches. Number 2, delayed decisions. Procrastination rarely makes a problem disappear. It usually makes the problem more expensive. This is the second spot on the pathway to productivity that you heard me talk about. Eliminate procrastination is the second stop on the pathway to productivity. Procrastination rarely makes problems disappear. It usually makes problems more expensive. The email you avoid becomes another follow-up. The employee issue that you refuse to address becomes like a morale problem, and the estimate you delay becomes a lost opportunity. The process you never document creates another month of interruptions. Entrepreneurs often delay decisions because they want more certainty, but leadership rarely offers a perfect certainty. You've got to be able to move without seeing the 100% solution. It requires movement based on best information available. Every decision you unnecessarily delay becomes a future claim against your time, and you don't want to have that. So number 3, preventable mistakes. Mistakes not only cost you money, they cost you attention. They pull you away from strategic work. They drag you back into repair work. And when the same mistakes keep happening, the answer is not simply trying harder. Okay? Why? Why did this happen? Let's ask some questions about this. I've told you this also. Your future is defined by the questions you're willing to answer. So let's ask some questions about the process or about whatever this is. Why did this happen? Was the expectation unclear? Was the process missing? Was the person improperly trained? Was responsibility poorly assigned? A mistake should become a lesson. Check this out. A repeated mistake should become a new system. Let me go back to my construction analogy for just a minute because, again, a rental property issue. I had a repair work issue that I needed to do a year ago. It was a leaky ceiling. Not the same ceiling, not the same. It wasn't a pipe drain. This time it was a rain drain, right? I had a leaky shingle issue. So I needed to do some repair work. And what I ended up doing was I repaired half of a roof, and I thought it was going to be adequate. In fact, it was adequate. It kept the water out. But when I went to sell the property, it quickly was flagged as an improper repair job. In other words, it wasn't going to last a long period of time. So what I ended up having to do was I ended up having to go back and do the entire thing over again, not just the half that I'd repaired, but the other half that I should have repaired at the same time and cleaned it all up. This was one of those costly mistakes. It was a preventable mistake that I could have handled if I would have just done the whole thing at one time. That kind of idea replicates all the way through our business system. We've got to be able to conserve our time, conserve our energy, our resources, and just handle it right the first time, right? So, number 4, undocumented processes. Many entrepreneurs say it like this: it's faster for me just to do it myself. How many of you are guilty? Hands raised, and a little louder for the people in the back. We just say this. It's just quicker. Just get out of my way. Let me do this. You've rushed through, and what you do is you actually insult the other person on the other side of that. Today, that might be right. But what will happen is that you will still be doing it yourself 6 months from now, right? Train the process. The task might take you 20 minutes. Teaching it might take 2 hours. Document it might require another hour. It feels like a lot slower movement, right? But if a task occurs every week, you're not spending 3 hours on it. You're investing 3 hours to buy back dozens or even hundreds of future hours because now you don't have to do it. The first time you document a process, it costs time, but every future execution on that returns that time back to you. Well, let me just give you a for instance about how this worked negatively. I used to have one of my subordinates, someone who worked on my team, was like notoriously bad at this. They were always on the lines of like, hey, just let me handle it. Let me handle it. In fact, they actually reduced the level of volunteers under them because they didn't quite feel secure in the fact of directing volunteers. And they just reclaimed all of those things themselves. And so now everything is hinging on one person. And if that one person goes down, the entire system breaks down after that. I was really frustrated with the process, but remember, everything rises and falls on leadership. So this person's poor execution is my poor leadership. And so I really had to get in there and like dial in and fix this process before the entire thing like trips over itself. And could that be something that you're dealing with today? Is that a person's poor execution is based on your poor teaching? Everything rises and falls on leadership. How can you get in there and re-clarify something and produce a new win? Number 5, we're going to boil this down right now: refusing to release control. Some entrepreneurs do not have a time problem, they have a trust problem or a delegation problem. They believe no one can perform the task as well as they can. And that may be true of it initially. In fact, it probably is. But there's a difference between a task being done differently and a task being done poorly. So going back to this coaching conversation that I started this with, we agreed on this same concept right here that I'm going to tell you next. If someone can complete the responsibility at 80% of your current ability, then you need to release it. Then you need to let it go. You need to consider that their 80% is good enough. It's good enough. Can they learn the other 20? Maybe eventually, but it doesn't matter. It's off of your plate and it's being handled, and eventually it will improve. Your business cannot become larger than your willingness to let other people carry meaningful responsibility. You have to be able to relinquish that. You do not buy back your time by abandoning standards. You buy back your time by transferring your standards, and that's leadership. And it all rests on your shoulders. So I've got a bit of a buy back your time audit for you. And then I have a resource that I want to share with you at the end of this. 5 questions that you should consider this week. Number 1, what questions am I answering repeatedly all the time? What am I doing? Because if you're constantly answering the same questions, it's a problem that you haven't resulted or developed a resource that can handle that, right? Number 1, what questions am I answering repeatedly? Number 2, what mistakes are continue requiring my attention? What do you have to refocus? Like, you've got to look back on that thing and you're like, man, I've dealt with this. Why does this keep coming back up? Is there a way that you can resolve that? Number 3, what decisions am I delaying? Here's the procrastination piece. What am I pushing down the field because I don't want to look at it? It feels threatening to me. What do I need to focus on, right? What decision am I delaying? Number 4, what responsibilities still depend unnecessarily on me? That's a good one. Number 5, what process could I document once instead of explaining it repeatedly? What do you find yourself saying over and over and over and over again? This is a good opportunity for that kind of thing. Don't try to solve everything at once. Choose one reoccurring interruption. Decide whether it requires clearer communication, faster decision, better training, a clearer documented process, or meaningful delegation. Recovering time is not usually a result of one dramatic change. It is an accumulated result of removing small leadership leaks. And that's how my client began to experience 30% more time on his hands, which is amazing. It's not magic. It's not a productivity trick. It's the result of improving the way he communicated, decided, delegated, and led. And here's the principle I want you to remember. You do not need to manage every minute more aggressively. I've been guilty of saying that before. And maybe you have too. We get to this spot of like, I gotta be stronger at this. I gotta be more aggressive. No, you don't need to be that. You need to lead your business with more intentionality. It's not the fact that more time is going to solve the problem. It's more intentionality is going to solve the problem. Better leadership reduces confusion, prevents mistakes, creates systems, develops people, returns time to the owner. The question is not simply, how can I get more done? The question is, what needs to change in me so that this no longer depends on me? Answer that question consistently, and you will not merely find yourself with more time. You'll find yourself with a lot more of everything else too. You can begin to buy it back today. So start in this process. So this is exactly the kind of work that I help entrepreneurs accomplish through what I call the next level entrepreneur. We identify where time and energy and profitability are leaking from the business, and we build leadership systems and clarity that are required for you to grow to your next level. You don't need another productivity hack. You may need a business that no longer requires you to carry everything alone. If this is resonating anything with you, send me some back, hey, buy back my time, and we can begin having like an intentional conversation about where this is leaking. And also, I have a cool resource for you to benchmark here that I would love to get your hands on. It's just a simple tool that I call Buy Back Your Time. If this is really resonating with you, I would love to just show you this framework that I use in coaching to help you reclaim hours every week by delegating the right work in the right way. If that could be useful to you, I'd love for you to get your hands on that. You just need to message me, reach out to me, and let me know that you want it, and I'll get it to you. Comment below if this is a commentable place, if this is YouTube, LinkedIn, something like that. Comment or reach out to me. I would love for you to have that. Just a free, cool resource for you to use. All right. That's all. Be well, blessed, and encouraged. We'll talk soon.